Okay, second quick video on modelling, trying not to make this too long for you. Basically, again, I'm exploring the possible construction for a shelf that I might make. I've kind of had a look at what possibilities are, and what I'm really thinking of is two units that are the same, because if I do that, I can cut potentially a top and a bottom and a top and a bottom all in one go. They'll all be the same. So, you know, four ends and four sides essentially. But then I want them to interlock, just to give the design a little bit more excitement. Now, the simplest way I can do this, if I just sit them on top of each other and put a little marker there and there, there and there. And I just get my scissors quickly, and then I'm going to cut. And I'm going to cut to about halfway, which for this I'm doing something called guesstimating. So I'm just guessing and hoping. I'm doing it by eye. Accuracy levels here aren't critical. One thing we find with modelling, though, is that if you make a mistake, it's often an indication of a mistake, you know, that you can avoid on materials, and we love that. And we love that a lot, because really when we make an error in wood, it's a tree, it's been chopped down, and we want to honour that material and not have wastage. When it's card, it's on its way to the recycling anyway. I'm not as concerned, but any errors that I make will show up. So I've got an interlocking join here, and if I've done those joins in the right spot, as I push, the slot of one will translate into the slot of the other. Literally, as I do this, design thinking is happening. So what I've suddenly realised is I actually really quite like that step as well. So the original plan would be to have pushed that all the way until they're flush. Now, flush might make more sense, because if it's going to sit on the desktop or hang on the wall, we obviously want a smooth back for it to be able to attach to the wall. But as I go, I'm kind of designing. One thing we're seeing with the model here, and this is pretty budget as models go, but one thing we're seeing is that if I get these sizes wrong, it's going to pull, and we know that wood isn't going to bend out of shape like this to accommodate. So I do need to make sure I'm accurate with my measuring and marking. The other thing, it was really quite a tight fit, so it's telling me that I need to make sure during manufacture that I allow a material thickness. So this was just a cut. My scissors are making a cut that isn't as thick as the card, and that was quite difficult to put in. If I try to amend that then and go, well, okay, we use the model for problem solving, going to make a thicker hole, probably potentially one thing it will show up is that if I do that, it may well introduce too many errors. So if I did that, I've only done it on one side, but if I'd made that larger on both sides, we might find that the whole thing kind of loses structural integrity. So the modelling is literally, it's an alternative to sketching, will help you understand hopefully your design better. You might make some aesthetic changes as you go and say, well, you know, I don't want a desk like that, or you might end up saying something like, if we're imagining this is the right proportion, that actually when I put these two together, I would much rather have them overlapping somewhere like that, because it'll create me a space that's more usable than if they're only overlapping here where nothing can go in that slot. You know, potentially in my original design I was thinking rubbers or pens, but it's going to need to be at least as big as your hand, otherwise you're going to lose something in there and never get it out. It'll be an annoyance. Likewise with this one I did earlier, I started to see, well, I can actually just extend pieces of wood fairly easily to create the aesthetic that I want in a way without having to do complete units and interlock. So I've explored my shape and I can make decisions from there.